Have you ever stopped to think about how much power slips away from you every single day simply because you lose control of what comes out of your mouth, how you handle your mood, the way you spend your money, or the thoughts you let run wild in your mind? Most people live their entire lives unaware that these four things are the hidden levers that shape their future. They wonder why they feel stuck, why success feels out of reach, why peace always slips away. Yet the truth is simple. The battle is not out there. It's inside. And it begins with these four forces. Every word you speak is either building or destroying something. Every mood you indulge is either fueling your strength or draining it. Every financial decision you make is either opening doors or chaining you down. Every thought you repeat is either setting you free or keeping you trapped. These aren't just random habits. They are the very foundation of your destiny. And until you decide to take command of them, life will keep controlling you instead of you controlling life. Think about it. How many times have you said something in anger that broke trust, ruined relationships, or created regret you couldn't erase? Words are invisible, but they carry weight. They shape how people see you, how they respond to you, and even how you see yourself. When you let your mouth run unchecked, you hand your power away. But when you master your speech, when you learn to pause, to filter, to speak with intention, you build influence and respect that cannot be bought. And what about your moods? How many mornings have you woken up and felt your entire day spiral downward because you allowed one emotion to take over? You are not weak for feeling. You are human. But when you let mood dictate your actions, you hand over control of your life to passing emotions that were never meant to drive your destiny. The strongest people are not the ones who never feel anger, sadness, or fear. They are the ones who feel them fully and still choose discipline over reaction. That is real strength. Now think of money. Every dollar is energy. Every choice is a seed. Spend without thought and you plant chaos. Invest with wisdom and you create freedom. Money itself does not care who you are. It flows to those who respect it, who direct it, who treat it as a tool instead of a master. If you've ever felt the weight of financial stress crushing your spirit, know this: control is possible. Wealth begins not with luck or privilege, but with choices, discipline, and vision. And then, the deepest layer, the mind, the battlefield no one else can see. Your mind is where every victory begins, and every defeat takes root. Thoughts repeated become beliefs. Beliefs repeated become actions. Actions repeated become identity. If you allow your mind to run unchecked, fear will multiply, doubt will grow, and self-sabotage will rule. But if you learn to guard your thoughts, to feed them with purpose, to replace lies with truth, you become unstoppable. This is why you must keep watching. Because once you understand how to master these four forces, your mouth, your mood, your money, and your mind, you will no longer drift through life as a victim of circumstance. You will hold the steering wheel of your own future. And that shift, that awakening, will give you a power most people never discover. If you stay with me, you will learn not only how to take back control, but how to turn that control into the life you've always wanted. The greatest mistake people make is believing control is about restriction, about living small, about cutting themselves off from life's pleasures. But true control is not about limitation. It is about liberation. It is about choosing strength over weakness, clarity over confusion, and direction over chaos. When you learn to master your mouth, your mood, your money, and your mind, you are not shrinking your life. You are expanding it. You are stepping into a level of freedom that most will never know, because most never choose discipline. They chase comfort, not growth. They chase distractions, not purpose. And in doing so, they hand away the very power that could have set them free. Control of your mouth means owning your voice, shaping your words so they carry weight and respect. When you stop speaking from impulse and start speaking from intention, people begin to listen differently. Your influence grows, not because you demand it, but because your words carry truth, calm, and direction. Words can heal or harm, build or destroy, ignite wars or create peace. To control them is to hold one of the greatest tools of leadership and impact you will ever possess. Control of your mood means you are no longer a prisoner of circumstance. Life will always test you. People will offend you, disappoint you, and push you. Situations will break your rhythm, challenge your patience, and tempt you to lose yourself. But when you choose calm in chaos, focus in distraction, and discipline in frustration, you gain a strength that radiates. People sense it, they trust it, and most importantly, you begin to trust yourself because you prove to yourself that you are stronger than passing storms. Control of your money means you refuse to be ruled by impulse, by comparison, by the need to impress, or the fear of missing out. It means you see money for what it truly is, a mirror of your choices. When you manage it with vision, with clarity, and with patience, you create freedom. Freedom from anxiety, freedom from limitation, freedom to say yes to the opportunities that align with your future and no to the traps that hold you back. And control of your mind is the crown of them all, because everything begins there. Every word you speak is born in thought. Every mood you feed grows in thought. Every financial choice is filtered through thought. If you do not master your mind, you will forever be at the mercy of old patterns, toxic beliefs, and hidden fears that sabotage you without warning. But when you discipline your mind, when you choose what you feed it, when you replace doubt with courage and scarcity with abundance, your entire reality changes. This is not about perfection. It is not about never making mistakes or never slipping. It is about awareness, choice, and commitment. The moment you decide to step into control, you stop drifting. You stop being a victim of every trigger, every temptation, every wave of emotion. You become the anchor, the captain, the driver of your own path. And that power brings peace, because peace is not found in everything going your way. Peace is found in knowing that no matter what happens, you are steady, you are strong, and you are in command. This is why control is not prison. It is freedom. It is the highest form of self-respect. And when you choose it, life bends differently for you. Doors open, energy shifts, people respond, because the world recognizes strength. And strength begins with the decision to control yourself before you ever try to control anything else. Control is not something you stumble into. It is something you train for, moment by moment, choice by choice. And the reason most people never achieve it is because they wait for the right time, the perfect mood, or the ideal circumstance. But control is not born in comfort. It is born in challenge. It is born in the moments when you feel tired, triggered, overwhelmed, and tempted to give in. Those are the crossroads where you either lose yourself or strengthen yourself. Those are the hidden battles that shape the course of your entire life. Think of the last time you reacted without thinking. Maybe it was a sharp word you didn't mean, a decision you regretted, or a mood that pulled you into negativity. That one small moment might have seemed insignificant, but those moments are never small. They are the training grounds of your character. Every time you choose silence over anger, patience over impulse, clarity over confusion, you are building muscles no one else can see. And the stronger those muscles grow, the freer you become. Control of the mouth, mood, money, and mind is not about denying yourself. It is about defining yourself. Without it, your words are wild, your emotions are unstable, your finances are fragile, and your thoughts are scattered. With it, you stand solid in a world that tries to shake you. You gain the ability to walk into any room, face any challenge, or step into any season of life with a power that cannot be bought or faked. People sense it. They may not be able to explain it, but they feel it. The calm, the clarity, the conviction that comes from someone who governs themselves. Your mouth becomes an instrument of strength. Your words carry weight because they are not careless. They inspire, encourage, and challenge because they come from a place of control. Your mood stops being a roller coaster. You still feel, but feelings no longer dictate your direction. You lead yourself instead of being led by emotion. Your money becomes a servant instead of a master. You begin to see it as a tool to build freedom, not a trap to keep you bound. And your mind becomes a fortress. Instead of being a playground for fear and doubt, it becomes a workshop for vision, strategy, and courage. Every human being craves control, whether they admit it or not, because without it, life feels chaotic. Without it, you feel tossed around, powerless, frustrated. But with it, even the storms of life feel different. They no longer shake you at the core. They test you, yes, but they do not break you, because you know who you are and you know what you stand for. And that kind of power brings not only results, but also respect, self-respect, and the respect of others. This is the turning point most people miss. They chase success but neglect self-control. They want freedom but refuse discipline. They demand results but avoid responsibility. Yet the truth is unshakable. You cannot master life until you first master yourself. And the moment you choose mastery, the world opens up, because the outer world always bows to the inner one. Control yourself, and everything around you begins to shift. That is the hidden power you have carried all along, waiting for you to claim it. The truth that many avoid is that lack of control is not harmless. It costs you more than you realize. It costs you relationships, because unchecked words tear down trust that took years to build. It costs you peace, because moods left unchallenged turn small problems into overwhelming burdens. It costs you freedom, because careless financial habits create chains that weigh on your mind and steal your future. And it costs you potential, because a wandering, unfocused mind keeps you circling the same mountains year after year. Every time you let these four areas run unchecked, you pay a price. Sometimes it is immediate, sometimes it is hidden, but the bill always comes, and it is always higher than you thought. This is why control is not optional. It is essential. Without it, you cannot grow. Without it, you cannot sustain success. Without it, even if you achieve something, it slips through your fingers because you were never prepared to hold it. Think of how many talented people have lost everything, not because they lack skill, but because they lack control. Their mouths destroyed opportunities. Their moods wrecked discipline. Their money vanished in foolishness. Their minds were poisoned by doubt and fear. The lesson is clear. Uncontrolled strength eventually becomes self-destruction. But there is a greater truth. Control is learnable. No one is born with perfect discipline. No one arrives with complete mastery. Every strong leader, every resilient fighter, every focused achiever has trained themselves, step by step, moment by moment. And if they can, so can you. What separates them from the rest is not luck, but choice. They chose to own their words instead of letting their words own them. They chose to rise above emotions instead of sinking beneath them. They chose to master their finances instead of being enslaved by them. They chose to command their thoughts instead of being a prisoner to them. Those choices multiply, and those choices build lives of strength. Your life will always rise or fall to the level of your self-control. It is not about talent, background, or resources. It is about whether you are willing to take hold of yourself before trying to take hold of anything else. This is the unshakable foundation of transformation. Without it, you will always chase but never catch. With it, even the impossible begins to bend towards you, and there is a reward waiting that is greater than money, fame, or recognition. It is the quiet confidence of knowing you can trust yourself. When you say you will do something, you know you will follow through. When challenges rise, you know you will not collapse. When temptation knocks, you know you have the strength to stand. That level of trust in yourself is priceless. It silences fear. It breaks doubt. It builds momentum. Every time you practice control in small moments, you prepare yourself for the bigger ones. Every time you pause before speaking, every time you breathe before reacting, every time you save instead of wasting, every time you choose focus over distraction, you are not just winning a small battle. You are shaping the kind of person you are becoming. And when you repeat it enough, it no longer feels forced. It becomes natural. It becomes who you are. That is the power of control. It turns discipline into identity and identity into destiny. Discipline becomes identity when you decide that control is not something you practice occasionally, but something you embody daily. The danger comes when people treat control like a switch. On when life feels manageable, off when life feels overwhelming. But life does not wait for you to feel ready. Challenges arrive without warning. Temptations appear in silence. Pressure builds when you least expect it. If control is not woven into who you are, those moments will expose the cracks. You do not rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the strength of your habits. That is why control cannot be temporary. It must become part of your character, part of your nature, part of the standard you refuse to lower. The mouth is often the first test. Words carry a force that lingers long after the sound disappears. One careless sentence can damage years of progress, while one intentional phrase can breathe courage into someone who is ready to quit. When you discipline your mouth, you are not only protecting yourself from regret, you are also creating influence. People remember how your words made them feel. When your mouth is under control, your words become fuel, guidance, and light in places where others only bring noise. That is leadership, and it begins with mastery of your own tongue. The mood is the second battlefield. Emotional waves are natural, but they do not have to be destructive. Most people drown because they let their moods control their direction, steering them into chaos they could have avoided. But moods are signals, not commands. Anger shows what you value. Sadness reveals where you need healing. Fear points to where you must grow. If you listen with wisdom and then act with discipline, moods transform from enemies into teachers. Control gives you the power to extract the lesson without being consumed by the emotion. That is strength in its purest form, not the absence of feeling, but the mastery of response. Then comes money, the mirror of your priorities. Every dollar has a story. It tells where your focus is, where your values are, and where your future is heading. Without control, money slips away into empty pleasures and fleeting desires. With control, money multiplies, grows, and positions you for freedom. The small daily choices, the decision to save instead of waste, to invest instead of indulge, to build instead of burn. These choices create the future you dream of. Control of money is not about greed or hoarding. It is about freedom, options, and security. It is about ensuring that your life is not dictated by fear of scarcity, but guided by clarity of purpose. And then the mind, the quiet architect of everything else. The greatest wars are fought in silence, between the thoughts you choose to believe and the lies you allow to linger. Uncontrolled, the mind is a playground for fear, doubt, and distraction. But disciplined, it becomes a powerhouse for vision, clarity, and resilience. Control of the mind means choosing what you dwell on, refusing to water the weeds of negativity, and instead cultivating thoughts that move you forward. It is not easy, but nothing powerful ever is. Your mind becomes your greatest ally the moment you decide it will no longer be your enemy. Control is not restriction. Control is power. Control is freedom. And when you commit to it as a way of life, you no longer ask, can I handle what is coming? You know you can, because you have trained yourself to be steady when the world is shaking, focused when distractions scream, and strong when weakness whispers. That is the life only discipline can create. The life you want is not waiting in some distant future. It is being built right now in the choices you are making today. Every moment you practice control, you lay another brick in the foundation of your future. Every moment you neglect it, you leave cracks that will one day split under pressure. Most people convince themselves that small lapses do not matter, that one outburst, one impulse, one careless choice is insignificant. But success and failure are never built in big moments. They are built in the small hidden ones. The little things you let slide become the habits that define you. The little things you discipline become the strengths that sustain you. Control is forged in the unseen places where no one else is watching. Your mouth reflects your maturity, the person who can stay silent when provoked, who can choose wisdom when others choose recklessness, carries a power far greater than volume or aggression. Strength is not in how loud you can speak, but in how much weight your words hold. When you control your mouth, you become a source of stability in a world filled with noise. Your words no longer add to the chaos, they cut through it. That is what makes people listen, not because they are forced to, but because they trust the discipline behind your voice. Your mood reflects your inner strength. Anyone can be happy when life is easy, but control is proven in how you respond when nothing goes your way. Discipline in your emotions means you are not at the mercy of bad days or sudden storms. You might feel the waves, but you do not sink. You might feel the fire, but you do not burn. This kind of control makes you resilient, and resilience is the trait that separates those who endure from those who quit. Emotional mastery does not make life painless. It makes you unbreakable. Your money reflects your priorities. If you spend recklessly, you reveal that short-term comfort matters more to you than long-term freedom. If you manage wisely, you prove that vision outweighs impulse. Money is not just currency, it is a reflection of your discipline. Those who control it build choices, opportunities, and stability. Those who do not remain trapped in cycles of stress, always chasing, never arriving. Financial control is not about deprivation. It is about building a life where you call the shots instead of being controlled by debt, fear, or lack. And your mind reflects your destiny. Whatever dominates your thoughts will shape your future. If you allow doubt to linger, it will choke your progress. If you entertain fear, it will paralyze your actions. But if you feed your mind discipline, focus, and truth, it will become your greatest asset. The strongest people are not those who never feel fear or doubt, but those who refuse to let those thoughts take root. Control of the mind means protecting the soil of your future, planting seeds of courage and vision, and pulling out weeds before they spread. Control in these four areas is not about perfection. It is about direction. It is about proving to yourself that you are capable of more than reaction, more than impulse, more than survival. It is about building a life that feels steady, intentional, and powerful. When you commit to control, you do not just change habits, you change identity. And once identity shifts, destiny follows. This is the transformation waiting for you, and it begins with the next choice you make. Identity is not built by what you dream of becoming, but by what you repeatedly choose in the silence of daily life. Every controlled word, every mastered mood, every disciplined financial decision, every guarded thought, these are the bricks of character. Most people underestimate the compounding power of small acts of control. They want transformation overnight, forgetting that mountains are climbed one step at a time. The truth is that greatness is never sudden. It is a natural result of years of self-mastery, built quietly, consistently, and with unshakable commitment. When your mouth is disciplined, people come to rely on your words. They know you do not speak recklessly. They know your promises carry weight. They know your voice is not just noise, it is clarity. This kind of reputation does not happen by accident. It is built by every decision to pause before you speak, to replace sarcasm with encouragement, to choose truth when lies would be easier. Over time, those small decisions create influence, and influence is one of the most powerful currencies you can ever possess. When your moods are disciplined, you become the steady presence others crave in a chaotic world. Life is unpredictable, but you are not easily shaken. People respect those who can remain grounded when everyone else is losing control. And more importantly, you respect yourself because you prove to your own mind that you are capable of rising above the pull of negativity. That inner trust is priceless. It becomes fuel for courage because you know emotions may visit, but they no longer control you. You are the master, not the slave. When your money is disciplined, doors begin to open that once felt locked. The stress of survival fades, replaced by the peace of preparation. You no longer live in constant reaction because you have built a system of control that creates space for opportunity. And every wise decision adds up. Small savings, careful investments, intentional spending. These do not just change your finances, they change your confidence. You begin to walk differently when you are no longer chained by financial chaos. That confidence bleeds into every other area of life, fueling the belief that you are capable of building stability in more than just your bank account. And when your mind is disciplined, everything else multiplies. Thoughts are the seeds of every action. Control them, and you control the harvest of your life. Your mind is either a battlefield of defeat or a factory of vision. If you let fear linger, you will hesitate. If you let doubt dominate, you will retreat. But if you choose to feed your mind courage, truth, and focus, you will act with confidence and persistence. This mental discipline creates momentum, and momentum creates breakthroughs that others mistake for luck. The greatest victory you can ever experience is not over an enemy outside. It is over the weakness within. Mastering yourself is the highest form of power because it means nothing can take away your stability, your clarity, your freedom. Circumstances may shift, storms may come, people may change, but you remain steady because your foundation is not external, it is internal. That is what control gives you. It gives you the kind of strength that cannot be stolen. It gives you peace that does not depend on conditions. It gives you freedom to rise, no matter what the world throws at you. The strength that cannot be stolen is not created in comfort. It is forged in resistance. Every time you feel the urge to lash out but choose silence, you strengthen your mouth. Every time you feel emotions boiling but choose composure, you strengthen your mood. Every time you're tempted to waste money on fleeting impulses but choose discipline, you strengthen your finances. Every time a negative thought whispers but you replace it with determination, you strengthen your mind. Resistance is not punishment, it is training. It is the gym where your character grows, where self-mastery takes shape, where the future you desire is built piece by piece. Control is the proof that you are willing to take responsibility for your life. Without it, you remain at the mercy of chance. Without it, the world decides for you. With it, you reclaim authority. You no longer move like a leaf in the wind, blown in every direction by mood, temptation, or distraction. You become anchored, deliberate, steady. That is what separates those who drift from those who rise. Control. It is not glamorous in the moment, but it is powerful in the outcome. Words mastered become bridges instead of weapons. They connect you to people instead of isolating you. They inspire growth instead of igniting conflict. They elevate instead of diminish. Each time you choose words that build, you create a ripple that spreads further than you can see. Influence multiplies, trust deepens, and respect solidifies. All because you refuse to let your mouth betray your higher self. Emotions mastered become fuel instead of chains. You still feel, but you no longer collapse under the weight of feeling. Anger becomes energy directed toward progress. Fear becomes a signal to prepare. Sadness becomes a moment to reflect and strengthen. Control turns emotions from enemies into allies, from obstacles into stepping stones. You stop fearing them and start harnessing them, using their energy without surrendering to their chaos. Finances mastered become freedom instead of stress. Money in the hands of someone without control is fleeting. It escapes as quickly as it arrives. But money in the hands of discipline becomes a tool of creation. It buys back your time. It creates stability for your family. It gives you the ability to say yes to purpose instead of being forced to say yes to survival. That freedom is priceless, and it begins with small acts of control that compound into lifelong stability. Thoughts mastered become blueprints instead of prisons. An undisciplined mind chains you to fear, replaying failures and magnifying doubts until you stop moving forward. But a disciplined mind breaks those chains. It focuses on solutions instead of problems, vision instead of obstacles, courage instead of fear. The thoughts you choose to repeat become the life you eventually live. Control gives you the power to rewrite the script of your future before it even happens. Control is not about being rigid or cold. It is about being intentional, about proving that you will not waste the one life you have been given by surrendering it to impulses, moods, and fears. Control is the foundation of freedom, the seed of growth, the mark of strength. And once you embrace it, you realize that the power you have been searching for has been inside you all along, waiting for the moment you decide to take command. The moment you decide to take command is the moment life begins to shift in ways you never thought possible. Control is the key that unlocks clarity, and clarity is the fuel of purpose. Without control, everything feels blurred. Your words contradict your values, your moods cloud your decisions, your money leaks through your fingers, and your mind sabotages your confidence. But when you begin to master yourself, the fog lifts. You see with sharper eyes. You move with stronger conviction. You stop drifting and start directing. This is the power that turns ordinary people into extraordinary leaders of their own lives. Control over your mouth makes your presence impactful. People no longer remember you for careless words, but for the wisdom and encouragement you release. You become known not for noise, but for depth. Influence begins here, and influence grows in silence before it shouts. When you discipline your speech, you stop scattering your energy and start channeling it. And that energy has the power to shift not just your own path, but the paths of those who hear you. Control over your mood makes your days consistent. Instead of being dragged down by the unpredictable highs and lows of emotion, you become grounded. This consistency is rare, and rare always attracts respect. People are drawn to stability because so few possess it. But beyond how others see you, mood control changes how you see yourself. It builds confidence because you no longer question whether you will crumble under pressure. You know you won't, because you've proven it to yourself again and again. That certainty is worth more than comfort. It is the essence of inner peace. Control over your money makes your future predictable. Instead of being held hostage by fear of lack, you step into the confidence of abundance created by discipline. Every controlled choice is a declaration that your future matters more than your impulses. You are no longer tricked by instant gratification because you understand that delayed gratification is not deprivation. It is multiplication. Financial control gives you the ability to dream without fear, to plan without anxiety, to build without collapse. Control over your mind makes your life limitless. The thoughts you choose determine the life you live. If you let negativity grow unchecked, it poisons everything. But when you discipline your mind, you train it to align with vision, strength, and faith. You are no longer a prisoner of fear. You are no longer chained by doubt. You are no longer dragged down by distractions. Instead, your mind becomes a weapon sharpened daily by focus. And that weapon cuts through the barriers that once held you back. Every act of control is an act of power. Every choice to pause instead of react, to plan instead of waste, to focus instead of drift, to rise instead of sink, these are victories. Small victories that compound into unshakable strength. The reward of control is not just success, but freedom. Freedom from regret, freedom from chaos, freedom from being ruled by forces within you that were never meant to lead. This is the transformation waiting for you. Not a life where you are perfect, but a life where you are powerful. Not a life without challenge, but a life where challenge reveals your strength instead of your weakness. And when you begin to live this way, you realize control was never about limitation. It was about becoming unstoppable. Becoming unstoppable is not about never facing obstacles. It is about developing the strength to move through them without losing yourself. Control is what turns adversity into advantage, because while others are reacting, you are responding. While others are collapsing, you are standing. While others are distracted, you are focused. This is the hidden edge that separates those who rise from those who remain stuck. The willingness to master the only territory that truly matters, themselves. When your mouth is under control, you do not waste energy on arguments that lead nowhere. You do not damage your credibility with careless promises. You do not cut others with words you cannot take back. Instead, your speech builds alignment between who you are and how you show up. Every sentence becomes intentional. Every word becomes precise, and people learn to trust you not just because of what you say, but because of the discipline behind it. That trust compounds into opportunity, influence, and respect. Currency is far more valuable than money. When your mood is under control, you stop living as a slave to circumstances. Challenges lose their power to derail you. Unexpected problems no longer define your day. Instead, you rise above, because you know your emotions are signals, not steering wheels. Anger, fear, doubt, sadness, they may visit, but they do not stay. They may knock, but they do not take over. You become the gatekeeper, choosing which emotions fuel you and which ones fade. That is not weakness. It is strength of the highest order, because it gives you mastery over the storms inside you that most people drown in. When your money is under control, you no longer feel caged by limitation. Instead of being trapped in cycles of stress, you create cycles of growth. Each disciplined decision, no matter how small, builds momentum. You begin to see progress, and progress breeds confidence. You realize that freedom is not about luck or privilege, but about the courage to choose discipline when others choose indulgence. Wealth is not created in a single leap, but in the consistency of control. And that control builds not just numbers in an account, but peace in your soul. When your mind is under control, the possibilities expand endlessly. Thoughts are the architects of your destiny, and when you master them, you design a life on purpose instead of by accident. The undisciplined mind will always drift toward fear, doubt, and distraction. The disciplined mind sharpens itself on focus, resilience, and vision. This is where breakthroughs are born, not in external circumstances, but in internal resolve. The mind that is trained to see possibility will always create it, no matter how impossible the environment seems. Control is the great separator. Most people will live reacting, chasing, and regretting, but those who choose mastery will live directing, building, and creating. The difference is not talent, opportunity, or background. It is control. And the beauty is that it belongs to anyone willing to claim it. It belongs to anyone ready to rise above impulse, silence the noise, and hold the pen that writes their own story. Every step toward control is a step toward freedom. Every act of discipline is a declaration that you will not waste your life being ruled by forces that weaken you. You were not created to drift. You were created to lead yourself with clarity, strength, and vision. And when you do, life bends differently for you. Not because the world changes, but because you have changed. And when you change, everything else begins to follow. When you change, the energy around you shifts. Control radiates strength, and strength attracts alignment. People begin to respond differently, not because they have changed, but because you have. The controlled mouth speaks with wisdom, and suddenly conversations take on more meaning. The controlled mood brings calm into chaos, and suddenly environments that once drained you begin to bend toward peace. The controlled money creates stability, and suddenly opportunities appear where scarcity once blinded you. The controlled mind produces clarity, and suddenly the same problems that felt impossible reveal solutions. Control is not just internal, It transforms the external because it reshapes how you engage with the world. Every day is an opportunity to strengthen these four pillars. And every day you choose discipline, you build momentum. Momentum is the hidden force behind transformation. At first, it feels difficult, heavy, almost impossible. But as momentum grows, control no longer feels like a burden. It becomes your nature. It becomes who you are. The words you once struggled to hold back now flow with intention. The moods that once dictated your day now serve as signals you master. The money that once slipped away now grows with purpose. The mind that once sabotaged you now works in harmony with your vision. Momentum makes mastery natural, but mastery only comes to those willing to start when it still feels unnatural. Control sharpens your awareness. You start to notice the power of choice in moments you used to ignore. That pause before speaking becomes an act of leadership. That decision to breathe before reacting becomes an act of wisdom. That choice to save instead of spend becomes an act of freedom. That shift from fear to courage in your thoughts becomes an act of transformation. And as these choices multiply, your confidence expands. You no longer question whether you are capable. You prove it to yourself daily. That self-proof is the foundation of unshakable confidence. Confidence built on control is different from the shallow confidence the world sells. It is not about appearance, status, or validation. It is about knowing that you are in command of yourself and therefore in command of your direction. It is quiet but unbreakable. It does not need to be loud because it is proven in action. People feel it when you walk into a room. They sense it when you speak. They trust it when you lead. And it all begins with control. The undisciplined life always feels restless, scattered, and fragile. The disciplined life feels steady, aligned, and powerful. One feels like drifting with no anchor. The other feels like sailing with a compass. The difference is not in the waves you face. The difference is in whether or not you hold the wheel. And the wheel is always within reach, but only for those willing to take hold of it with strength and consistency. Your greatest potential is not unlocked by chance. It is unlocked by control. Every great dream depends on it. Every meaningful goal demands it. Every life of impact is built on it. To control your mouth, your mood, your money, and your mind is to declare that nothing within you will sabotage the future waiting for you. It is to rise each day with the decision that you will lead yourself before you expect to lead anything else. And when you make that decision daily, transformation stops being a possibility and becomes a certainty. Certainty is born when you stop negotiating with weakness and start commanding your choices. Control does not ask permission. It demands consistency. It is the standard you hold yourself to even when no one else is watching. And the truth is, most of your greatest battles are invisible to everyone else. No one sees the pause you choose before releasing a harsh word. No one notices the breath you take before letting emotion pass. No one applauds when you decide to save instead of spend. No one celebrates when you replace a destructive thought with a constructive one. But these unseen victories are the very moments that define who you are becoming. They build the quiet strength that eventually shouts through results. Control of the mouth is a discipline that multiplies influence. Every time you resist the temptation to speak from anger or pride, you are proving that your words belong to your higher self, not your impulses. Over time, people listen more intently, not because you speak often, but because you speak with weight. You no longer waste words, and that economy of speech makes what you do say powerful. Trust grows, respect grows, and your influence extends far beyond what you can see. Control of the mood is the foundation of stability. Life will always test you with people who provoke, situations that frustrate, and storms that threaten to overwhelm. But when you govern your emotions, you become unshakable. You feel the storm, but you do not break. You acknowledge the emotion, but you do not surrender to it. This is not suppression, it is transformation. Emotions become messengers, not masters. They teach you, but they do not enslave you. And when others see that steadiness, they instinctively look to you for direction because stability is rare in a world addicted to chaos. Control of the money is the proof of vision. Most people sacrifice the future for the comfort of now and then wonder why they remain trapped. But when you master money, you reverse that cycle. You invest in tomorrow instead of bleeding for today. You choose purpose over impulse, growth over gratification, discipline over indulgence. And while others live enslaved by stress, you build the kind of freedom that allows you to breathe deeply, think clearly, and act boldly. That freedom is not given, it is created by control. Control of the mind is the highest mastery. Thoughts are the architects of everything else. If you do not discipline them, they will discipline you. If you do not direct them, they will direct you. Control means no longer feeding the lies that weaken you, no longer entertaining the doubts that paralyze you, no longer replaying the failures that chain you. It means choosing to plant vision, courage, and clarity until they grow into unshakable beliefs. The mind becomes your fortress, not your prison. And within that fortress, you build the identity that shapes your destiny. Control is freedom disguised as discipline. It feels heavy at first, but it lifts you higher with every decision. It feels strict at first, but it liberates you from regret, chaos, and limitation. The world will always try to convince you that control is too hard, that discipline is too strict, that freedom is found in doing whatever you feel. But the truth is undeniable. Without control, you are a slave. With control, you are free. And freedom is the reward waiting for those who choose mastery over impulse, purpose over distraction, and strength over surrender. Freedom created by control is not fragile. It is durable because it is built from within. It cannot be stolen by circumstance. It cannot be shaken by opinion. It cannot be broken by failure. It is yours, forged in the quiet hours where you chose discipline over distraction. This kind of freedom is the foundation of a life that does not just survive, but thrives, even when the world feels uncertain. And the deeper you practice control, the more unshakable this freedom becomes. The mouth under control carries the power to shape not just your life, but the lives around you. Words are seeds, and every word planted grows into something. Some grow into trust, encouragement, and vision. Others grow into bitterness, doubt, and pain. To master your speech is to plant a garden of influence that will feed you and others for years to come. You stop scattering weeds of negativity and start cultivating forests of strength. This is not just communication, it is legacy. The mood under control is not the absence of emotion, but the presence of wisdom. You begin to see emotions for what they are, signals pointing towards something deeper. Anger reveals where boundaries have been crossed. Fear reveals where growth is possible. Sadness reveals where healing is needed. Joy reveals where alignment has been found. By controlling your mood, you learn to listen without being rude. You extract the lesson without losing your stability. You grow, and in that growth, you discover the rare calm that becomes your superpower. The money under control becomes a tool for building instead of a chain for surviving. You realize that every dollar is a decision, and every decision shapes the life you are creating. Money no longer controls your peace because you control your money. It becomes a servant to your vision instead of a master of your stress. You stop trading your future for fleeting comfort. You begin to invest not just in accounts, but in confidence. That confidence allows you to stand taller, walk freer, and live with a sense of direction that others only dream of. The mind under control transforms your inner world into a source of endless strength. Where most people are drained by their own thoughts, you are fueled by yours. You no longer replay mistakes, you reframe them. You no longer obsess over fear, you channel it. You no longer collapse under doubt, you confront it and rise. The mind becomes an ally, not an enemy. It becomes a compass, not a cage. And once your mind is under control, every other form of control becomes easier because thought is the root of every action. Control is not punishment. Control is power. It is not a restriction, but a release. The release of your highest potential, the release of your truest self. Without it, you are tossed by every wind, distracted by every noise, broken by every setback. With it, you are steady, intentional, and unstoppable. That is why control must not be treated as optional. It must become your way of life. Because the one who controls their mouth, their mood, their money, and their mind does not just exist. They rise, they lead, they inspire, and they transform everything they touch. The one who rises through control discovers a strength that cannot be borrowed and cannot be faked. It is a strength that comes only from the discipline of mastering yourself when no one is watching. Most people wait for life to change before they do. They wait for the right timing, the right opportunity, the right circumstance. But control teaches you that waiting is weakness. Control says, take command now, no matter the situation. When you learn to control your mouth, you stop giving away your power through careless words. When you learn to control your mood, you stop surrendering your peace to fleeting emotions. When you learn to control your money, you stop selling your future for temporary comfort. When you learn to control your mind, you stop building cages out of your own thoughts. You reclaim what is yours, piece by piece, choice by choice. Every decision to practice control creates a new identity. You stop being the person who reacts and start becoming the person who responds. You stop being the person who drifts and start becoming the person who directs. You stop being the person chained to circumstance and start becoming the person who shapes circumstance. Control does not just change your behavior, it changes your belief about who you are. And once your identity shifts, your life follows, because you will always act according to the person you believe yourself to be. Discipline may feel heavy at first, but it is lighter than regret. Every word spoken without control creates wounds that linger. Every mood unchecked creates chaos that spreads. Every dollar wasted creates chains that tighten. Every thought left undirected creates fears that multiply. That is the cost of living without control. But the cost of control is different. It demands patience, awareness, and persistence. Yet what it gives back is peace, respect, freedom, and power. It trades short-term struggle for long-term strength. And that trade is the most valuable exchange you will ever make. The truth is, control is not about perfection. You will stumble. You will fall. You will say things you wish you hadn't. You will feel emotions that test your patience. You will make financial mistakes. You will fight with your own thoughts. But control is not about never failing. It is about refusing to quit. It is about rising after every stumble, learning after every mistake, and continuing forward no matter how many times you are tested. Every time you stand back up, you reinforce the truth that you are not a prisoner of weakness. You are the architect of strength. Control is not about suppressing who you are. It is about unlocking the highest version of who you are meant to be. Without it, you remain at the mercy of impulses that keep you small. With it, you unleash potential that has always been waiting inside you. This is not about living a smaller life. It is about living a larger one, a life not limited by regret, distraction, or waste. A life directed with clarity, lived with intention and powered by purpose. That is the life control offers, and it belongs to anyone bold enough to claim it.